Good afternoon. We are breaking into regularly scheduled programming this afternoon as we continue to follow developing news out of Wilder. In the next few minutes, the ACLU of Idaho is expected to hold a news conference outside the Canyon County Courthouse after a massive FBI raid on an alleged illegal gambling operation yesterday. The FBI was scheduled to hold a news conference at this hour, but they canceled it about an hour ago. Yesterday, nearly 200 federal, state, and local law enforcement officers carried out a federal search warrant at La Catedral Horse Arena in Wilder. Investigators say the raid is the result of an investigation that has been building for months. 4 people were arrested in connection to that operation. Ivan Tellez from Wilder, Samuel Bejarano and Diana Fajardo from Nissa, Oregon, and Alejandro Estrada from Buell. The ACLU's news conference is expected to start in just a couple minutes at 1 p.m. Representatives from Poder of Idaho, immigration attorneys, a faith leader, and an Idahoan impacted by the incident are all expected to speak as well. Meantime, a protest put on by Poder started at 12:30 outside the courthouse. According to a federal criminal complaint, this all started back in February when agents got a tip about illegal gambling tied to horse races at La Catedral Arena. A man named Ivan Tellez owns the facility. Court records show Bejarano regularly posted about the gambling operation on Facebook, including a June 25th post showing a betting sheet filled with names and large wagers. In late August, an undercover agent went to a horse race at the arena and said they witnessed betting couriers with backpacks full of cash. According to the complaint, financial records show thousands of dollars in bets processed through apps like Venmo, Zelle, and Cash App. Fast forward to last month, September, a judge signed a warrant, and investigators allegedly uncovered messages where Bejarano openly accepted bets on future races. Then just a few days ago, on October 15th, federal prosecutors filed charges. Now, as I mentioned, the FBI was scheduled to hold a press conference at 1, but it was canceled. The FBI did send out a statement today saying the last-minute change was because the affidavit in support of the criminal complaints related to the activity yesterday is available to the public. There is no new information they can provide at this time. The FBI went on to say, quote, ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations Division was present as part of the broader federal team to process individuals who were found to have potential immigration violations during the course of the investigation. Their presence was limited to that specific federal responsibility and was separate from the criminal gambling investigation being led by the FBI. We have reached out to Homeland Security for more details about what is happening because, as we mentioned, people were detained. We had crews on the ground yesterday who were witnessing dozens of people being detained. Our crews did observe people being detained in zip ties. I know Gabby and Abby have spoken to families. They join us now outside the Canyon County Courthouse. What is the latest down there, and what are you hearing from families whose loved ones are currently detained and they can't get in touch with them?
Morgan, yeah, there is quite a turnout here. And like you said, several of those people that are here are family members who cannot get a hold of their families right now who are detained. We've also spoken with several people here at this protest who were detained yesterday, then they were released. They are here to show their support for the people who are still detained. And I just want to show you a little bit here of what exactly is going on. There's chants going on. Lots of people have signs. There's at least 100 people here protesting and kind of showing exactly what is going on here. People are upset. There's signs that say when cruelty becomes normal, compassion looks radical. There's lots of signs saying no ICE, lots of signs saying ICE out of our communities. So just to show you here exactly what's going on, there is a lot of people here that are upset. They're missing their family members. We've spoken again with people that are here who were detained yesterday and who were then released. So a very wide variety of people, from advocates to people who are facing what is going on themselves. You got a good scene there of what exactly was going on. And Gabriella, I know you've been talking with ACLU a little bit about what exactly this press conference that they're going to host is. Again, this was supposed to be following an FBI press conference that was, again, like you said, that was canceled because they say that the information that they would have shared is already out in those criminal complaints. So Gabriella, do you know exactly what ACLU is going to address here in this conference?
So just like you mentioned, Abby, if we would have had that FBI press conference, people were going to have concerns of what was going to happen next, and ACLU was just going to be there to give them that information. But as of now, we know ACLU is going to be here on the podium, right over there, giving people any information regarding any loved one that may be detained. They're going to have attorney, immigration lawyers speaking about what they are supposed to be doing if their loved one is detained. They're also going to have any people who were at the scene yesterday speak of what it was like and how it all happened. This is about to start at 1 p.m., around 1:05, I believe. We are not completely sure. The protest is still going on. People from ACLU are already here, just waiting for the community's response. This is done for the community. I talked to ACLU, and they did confirm that this press conference is for the community to be informed about anything regarding immigration. That's all I have for right now. Going back to you, Morgan.
Okay, Gabriela, some questions for you. You were out on scene in Wilder at the Horse Arena yesterday as this all unfolded. I know you arrived after people were being detained, but can you walk me through what you heard on the ground, what you saw, what people who were released after being detained told you about the processing situation?
Yeah, definitely. We talked to a young individual who was detained for about an hour. She said that they were being violent towards them. I just spoke with one person who yesterday went with her friend to the hospital to get checked because she had been slammed by officials at the place horse track. She gave me that information. She says her friend will be coming to this protest, but they weren't really sure about that.
Okay, and so when these individuals were detained yesterday, law enforcement, it's my understanding, they were questioning them, they were processing them, they were asking for documentation, correct?
Correct, yes. There was a tent at the racetrack where they were being processed, asked for documentation, whether they were documented or undocumented. To my understanding, according to attorneys, they were being released if they showed documentation.
Okay, and then the individuals that did show or weren't able to show documentation, they were then taken to Boise and Mountain Home, correct? That is what you're hearing?
Correct, and we still don't know the exact location. As of this morning, I talked to a representative of the ACLU, and they did not give me an exact location because we still don't know where these individuals are located.
Okay, Gabriela, thank you so much for your reporting yesterday and today. I know we'll catch up with you guys in just a minute as we await that ACL news conference, but we do want to show you some video from yesterday. More than 50 people were detained, according to witnesses, as well as our crews on the ground in the midst of that federal search warrant at La Catedral. You can see some video that viewers have sent us here. People, as I mentioned, getting zip-tied by masked officers from several different agencies. About an hour into the raid, everyone besides those who were detained were sent out of the arena. You can see an individual there being pulled out of a porta potty, and ICE officers detaining them. Also, take a listen to what we heard from somebody who was there yesterday.
Got picked up who are detained in there. Again, they're minors. They're little boys. They're just here to ride their horses, doing what they do, what's for fun.
And as Gabriela mentioned, detainees went through processing where they had to show if they had documentation.
You put your belongings into a clear pouch, like your phone, money, everything. No, there were zip ties. You were fully zip tied until your wrist couldn't move anymore.
That woman was detained, or that young woman, I should say, was detained alongside her cousin, uncle, and younger siblings. She was released after showing documentation. And as Gabriela mentioned, according to the ACLU, people who showed documentation were released. Those without documentation were sent to Boise or Mountain Home for further processing.
Honestly, I'm just waiting to see if they're truly going to let the people that have proper documentation go, and who they're going to detain or not, because my mom is all 100% legal. She has no reason to be detained. She's not a criminal.
That's Miguel Batista, who, again, his mom was detained. She was released after showing that documentation, but several family members tell us their loved ones were not released. We heard from people yesterday who were trying to track their loved ones on Find My Friends, and they weren't able to see their exact location. People yesterday were crying, screaming, yelling at officers, asking how to bring their loved ones back. We don't know the latest on the situation with those individuals who were detained. I have reached out to the Department of Homeland Security and listed several questions that we've been wondering, but we also know there are counter protesters down outside the Canyon County Courthouse. We are going to send it back out to our Abby Wilt live. Abby, take us there.
Morgan, yeah, so just like you said, that ACLU press conference is going to start any time now, but we are just noticing now there is a scene of counter-protesters. They are now coming across the street and saying that they do not agree with the protesters on this side of the street. We'll kind of show you a little bit of what's going on. It's definitely starting to look like more of a divisive scene here in Canyon County. So if I can have my photographer just show you over here, we have everyone who is for helping everyone who is detained right now. Over here we have a group of counter-protesters starting to arrive here in Canyon County. There is not a police presence as of right now. However, I wouldn't be surprised if more start showing up. Again, that ACLU press conference is set to happen any time now. It is about to happen at 1, but like you can see, there is just a lot going on here in Canyon County. Definitely a lot of people showing all of what they are feeling. Morgan?
All right, Abby Wilt, appreciate it. And I did reach out to the Canyon County Sheriff. I know he was on the scene yesterday. He does not have a comment at this time. The FBI also could not elaborate on the information that they sent out. They were expected to hold a news conference this afternoon. They canceled it because those criminal complaints relating to the 4 individuals who were arrested yesterday have been released. Those are public record. Our team has combed through those. We do have a comprehensive story up on our website, ktvb.com. You can also find it on the KTVB app, in which we lay out all of the allegations and the months-long investigation into La Catedral and individuals involved in alleged illegal gambling operations. Again, in the next few minutes, we are expecting the ACLU of Idaho to hold a news conference outside the Canyon County Courthouse. This is in response to a massive FBI raid yesterday at La Catedral. Yesterday, nearly 200 federal, state, and local law enforcement officers carried out a federal search warrant at that horse arena in Wilder. Investigators say it was the result of an investigation that's been building for months. These are the individuals that were arrested yesterday in connection to that operation. Ivan Tellez, 37 years old, from Wilder. Samuel Bejarano, 37, from Nissa. Diana Fajardo, 39, also from Nissa. And Alejandro Estrada, 56, from Buell. The ACLU's news conference, again, expected to start at 1 o'clock. We are still waiting. We are expecting to hear from representatives from Poder of Idaho, immigration attorneys, a faith leader, and an Idahoan impacted by the incident. Meantime, a protest, which you can see right now from our live shot, put on by Poder of Idaho, started outside the Canyon County Courthouse. It says the people united on this podium here. People united will defend immigrant families, as our photojournalist zooms in. People speaking over megaphones. I'm actually going to stop talking for a second so you can take a listen in. Now, according to a federal criminal complaint, this all started in February when agents got a tip about illegal gambling tied to horse races at La Catedral Arena in Wilder. Ivan Tellez owns the facility. Court records show Bejarano, who I already mentioned, regularly posted about the gambling operation on Facebook, including a post from June 29th, which showed a betting, or June 25th, I should say, which showed a betting sheet filled with names and large wagers. In late August, an undercover agent went to a horse race at the arena, said they witnessed betting couriers with backpacks full of cash. According to a criminal complaint, financial records show thousands of dollars in bets were processed through apps like Venmo, Zelle, and Cash App. A judge signed a warrant in September, and investigators allegedly uncovered messages where Bejarano openly accepted bets on future races. Then just a few days ago, according to an online court database, federal prosecutors filed charges. So this is all related to that massive law enforcement response yesterday at La Catedral Arena. But this coincided with a public event. So a lot of individuals were there, perhaps hundreds of individuals were there to observe horse races, merely spectators. At this hour, it is not known how many of those individuals who've been detained had any knowledge, if they had any knowledge of what was allegedly going on at La Catedral. However, we do know that those 4 individuals who law enforcement had initially named have been arrested. In a statement, the FBI said that they canceled their news conference because of that affidavit where we've gathered all of that information has already been released, so there's no new information that they're able to provide at this time. But we are expecting to learn new information right now from the ACLU. We're going to take you back outside live to the Canyon County Courthouse.
Yeah.
Stand up right there! When immigrant rights are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back!
Any reporters who have microphones, please place them up here now. Okay.
And it just got
All right, it does appear that the ACLU is still setting up for that news conference as protesters and family members of loved ones who have been detained are waiting to learn more information. Going back to what the FBI has shared with us at this hour, they did tell us that ICE was there yesterday. Our crews saw them on the ground. We know ICE was detaining people, that their Enforcement and Removal Operations Division was there as part of the broader federal team to process individuals who were found to have potential immigration violations during the course of the investigation. Their presence was limited to that specific federal responsibility. It was separate from the criminal gambling investigation being led by the FBI. Again, that is according to a spokesperson with the FBI. I have reached out to the Department of Homeland Security for more details about what is happening with the detainees. But as we previously said, I want to reiterate that our crews yesterday on the ground saw at least 50 people being detained. Some of those people, family members told us, were taken away in vans to Boise and Mountain Home. Okay, we're going to take you back out again to the Canyon County Courthouse. We're expecting to hear from the ACLU.
Press release. Every single person talking to here is an impacted community member. Everybody who is going to be speaking today was on the ground yesterday. They saw what happened and they have loved ones who were involved. So I am going to kick it off with the ACLU Executive Director, Leo Morales. Please welcome Leo Morales.
Wow, it's been a while since I've used one of these. Friends, we are gathered here today to condemn the action that occurred this weekend in Wilder. We are condemning this action in the strongest words possible. When the government uses ultimate force to remove individuals, that is wrong. When the government comes in and arrests everyone, regardless of immigration status, because that is exactly what happened this weekend, right? The government came and arrested everyone, U.S. citizen, women and children. Every Idahoan should be horrified whenever government takes that type of action. And so today we are here to condemn that action. I'm also here to say that I am ashamed that the Governor Little, and other law enforcement officers took part in this event as well. They likely knew exactly what was happening, and they could have done their work differently. But they chose to do this operation in the worst possible way to bring the greatest harm possible to the community. This was a community where we had children attending to participate in a weekend event, right? And the government came in full force, military style, helicopters, drones, and arrested and handcuffed everyone, again, including children. No person, no Idahoan, no American should ever accept whenever a government does this to its own people. No, and never. And so today we are here to condemn those actions. I'm here to call on the governor as well for true leadership to truly rise and to defend every single person's constitutional rights. Enough is enough when it comes to the abuses that are continuing to occur. The governor should not be a puppet. The governor should not be lockstep with the president, who aims to remove as many brown people from this country, because that is exactly what we're seeing with these operations. Again, if the government wanted to do an operation that strategically, they could have done it differently. But they chose to do it in the harshest, most inhumane way by using the entire force possible, including military operation style, to conduct this operation. What's left now is trauma because of this terrorist type of activity. Children have been left harmed as a result of this activity that occurred this weekend in Wilder. That is decades to recover from this type of trauma. And so again, we're here to condemn this activity. We're gathered in solidarity. We're gathered peacefully, and we will continue to organize to push back against this type of government action that is wrong. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. That was Leo Morales with the ACLU of Idaho. The next speaker that we have is Nikki Ramirez-Smith. She is an attorney at Ramirez-Smith Law, and she will be talking to us next.
I've learned so much from them. They were wonderful in every regard. Absolutely.
Hello, I was present yesterday during the raids. Okay, I was present yesterday during the raids. It was a very disturbing situation. There were a number of families out there trying to figure out where their children were. Some children had went with one parent, some were grandparents looking for their grandchildren to see if the parents had been taken. Some were one parent who the children had went with the grandparents. We do have credible information that the children were zip-tied and tied up and handcuffed, and so the children were detained as well. It appears that everyone that was there was detained, U.S. citizen or not. Eventually, it was over an hour that we were there that we could not get answers on what happened to the children and where the children were going. We repeatedly asked for answers as to what was happening with the children to the law enforcement. We got no answers whatsoever. Sheriff Donahue was on his horse, and we requested answers from him as to what happened to the children. He said that he would go find out and come back. He did not return. Eventually, some officers came out, and one of the agencies communicated with us that the children were okay, that they were going to be released with family members. At that point, we communicated that to the crowd. When people did go through the barrier and start to move towards the area where they had everyone detained, that was because they were getting no answers as to where their children were. They were also getting information that their children were tied up back there and were being detained and handcuffed. And so people were really, really concerned about the whereabouts of their children. And so that was relayed numerous times to say, look, this crowd will calm down, but we need to know where the kids are. And we did not receive that information. Eventually, people did go back, at which time rubber bullets were fired at them. There were some threats to move faster. They would force people to move faster. The military was there. It appeared the military saw Canyon County Sheriff, the sheriff out in that region, Sheriff Donahue. We saw CBP. I'm trying to go through all the agencies that were there. Definitely the FBI, DEA was there. I said CBP. There were a number of different agencies. There were helicopters. There were dogs. There were all kinds of different things going on. It does appear that everyone was detained, at which point they would slowly release people based on, a citizenship line versus another line. There's very disturbing videos that are surfacing from inside of what happened and how everything had went down. There was no one out there to provide any answers to the people who were missing family members. it was a very difficult situation. At this point, there is still a number of people who are detained. I can say that there are many of them who have absolutely no criminal history whatsoever, and they are currently still detained with no criminal history and no prior deports. So we don't know what the status and the future of that is right now. It does appear that the children have all been released. So it does appear that all the children have been released. We did meet with a couple children who don't know where their parents are. We're trying to figure that out at this point. We have located the parents, but there are some situations. I think there is going to be a lot of children in this community that are severely disturbed and upset about what happened, and I think the community needs to rally around those kids, because this was a family event. There were toddlers there, there were 5-year-olds there, there were a number of little children who were detained and watched a very horrific and traumatic event that I think went way beyond what was necessary.
All right, thank you. That was Nikki Ramirez-Smith from Ramirez-Smith Law. We have 2 more speakers before we will open it up for questions. Our next speaker is Jackie Vasquez. She represents IORC, the Idaho Organization for Resource Councils. So next we got Jackie.
Back in 1986, under the Ronald Reagan administration, the Immigration Reform and Control Act, often called the Amnesty Act, gave many undocumented individuals, including my father, a chance at stability. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was an opportunity. And for many families like mine, that word opportunity meant everything. For nearly 40 years since the act passed, we've been told that America is the land of opportunity. We've held on to that belief even as the pathway to citizenship has grown narrower and more uncertain. Many thought the Amnesty Act would open doors. Instead, it's marked the beginning of decades where those doors have slowly closed. My father, like so many others, took on the work others refused to do. Long, grueling hours in fields and ranches across eastern Idaho. Despite being provided basic housing, he worked 16-hour days, 6 days a week, earning $1,100 a month to support a family of 4 and our horses. That was the 1980s, early 1990s. Yesterday in Wilder, Idaho, October 19th, 2025, we witnessed the opposite of opportunity, liberty, and justice for all. Hardworking men and women who simply wanted to spend their Sunday with family to rest and enjoy a horse race were forcefully detained, zip-tied, and arrested. Families were separated, children were left terrified. These are the same individuals who wake up before sunrise and work until sundown, and the people who make the state's economy run. And for that one day of rest, they were targeted. What happened yesterday is not just an incident. It's a reflection of a broken system that continues to dehumanize the very people who sustain our communities. And we need to stand together and keep our families together for them. That's right. Okay, going in Spanish now. En 1986, bajo la administración de Ronald Reagan, la Ley de Reforma y Control de la Inmigración, o mejor conocida como la Ley de Amnistía, brindó a muchas personas indocumentadas, incluyendo mi padre, la oportunidad de alcanzar la estabilidad. No era una garantía, pero sí una oportunidad. Y para muchas familias como la mía, esa palabra, oportunidad, lo era todo. Durante casi 40 años después de la aprobación de esa ley, nos han dicho que los Estados Unidos es la tierra de las oportunidades. Nos hemos aferrado en una creencia incluso cuando el camino hacia la ciudadanía se ha vuelto más incierta. Muchos pensaron que la ley de amnistía abriría puertas. En cambio, marcó el comienzo de décadas en las que esas puertas se fueron cerrando poco a poco. Mi padre, como tantos otros, aceptó el trabajo que otros no querían hacer, largas y agotadoras horas en campos y ranchos por todo el estado de Idaho. A pesar de contar con un hogar para vivir, trabajaba 16 horas al día, 6 días a la semana, ganando solo $1,100 al mes para mantener a una familia de 4 y a nuestros caballos. Ayer en Wilder, Idaho, octubre 19 del 2025, presenciamos lo opuesto a la oportunidad, libertad y justicia para todos. Hombres y mujeres trabajadores que simplemente querían pasar el domingo en familia, descansar y disfrutar de una carrera de caballos, fueron detenidos a la fuerza, atados con bridas y arrestados. Separaron a las familias y a los niños quedaron aterrorizados. Estas son las mismas personas que se despiertan antes del amanecer y trabajan hasta que oscurece. Las personas que hacen funcionar la economía de este estado y por ese único día de descanso fueron perseguidos. Lo que ocurrió ayer no es solo un incidente, es un reflejo de un sistema roto que continúa deshumanizando a las mismas personas que sostienen nuestras comunidades. Gracias.
All right, that was Jackie Vasquez from IORC. We all have one speaker left in the lineup, but we do have a bonus speaker after that. We also would like to just point out that we usually have, when we have protests and gatherings, we usually have police who are here to protect us. They did not come today. But our final speaker in the list today is Ruby Mendez Mota. She is here as co-executive director of Poder of Idaho. ¿Me pueden escuchar? Can you hear me?
Okay. This morning, and I wrote it down because I'm really heartbroken. We woke up with heavy hearts. I stood with many of you outside in Wilder, and what I witnessed was devastating. ICE agents, police, FBI, DEA stormed into the space with force and intimidation. Boom! And in that moment, families were torn apart. I saw the confusion in people's faces, the panic, the heartbreak, loved ones detained without warning, without explanation. Fathers, mothers, sons, abuelitos, taken away. No notice, no phone calls allowed, no dignity. People gathered, begged for information, and received nothing but silence, just like we see right now. There were mothers holding photos, birth certificates, IDs, hoping for some kind of news. Children asking questions that no child should have to ask. Friends trying to figure out what happened and where to go next. Though I witnessed some of these moments of family reunification at the end and felt the emotions of those embraces, it was clear how deeply scarred those families already were. The trauma doesn't end just because someone goes home. And the truth is, not everyone was that lucky. Today, many individuals are still left without answers. They don't know where the loved ones are or what conditions they're in. They are searching, calling, hoping, desperate for answers, desperate for some kind of peace. This is inhumane. No one deserves to live like this. No one should wake up not knowing if their family will be whole at the end of the day. No one should have to wonder if they will be next target. But even in the face of that cruelty, we saw something else. We saw our community rise up. We didn't come with weapons or threats. We came with food, with water, and with support. We came with phone numbers, legal resources, and help. We came with each other. In face of fear, we brought underestimate us. Because we're not afraid and we're not backing down. We're rooted in love, in justice, and in each other. We will continue to fight for the release of our loved ones, and we will continue to build systems of care, protection, and resistance, because that's what our people deserve. To those taken, we see you. We love you. We're fighting for you. To the families left behind, you are not alone. We are standing to you. And to this system, we are watching, we are organizing, and we will not stop. This is our home. This is our people. And no one, not ICE, not any agency, can take that away from us, ever. ¿Se puede?
All right, we have one bonus speaker who is not affiliated with any of the organizations that put this on. She is simply somebody who was there, who was directly impacted and wants to share her story. So please welcome Jeanette Orozco.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi everyone, my name is Jeanette Orozco. I am the daughter of Vicente Orozco. I was there yesterday. We got a call around 1, my dad letting us know what was going on. We were really nervous, we were really scared, we didn't know what to do. The first thing we told my dad is don't answer any questions, don't talk to anybody, and to make sure to ask for a lawyer if needed, and I told him to spread that around. My dad is somebody who I love very much, and to not know what's going on, we had contact with him for a few hours and then lost contact after he told us he would give us a call. They were zip tying people up. He mentioned that there was people on the roof pointing at them with guns, and he was really nervous, and we can hear it in his voice, and I've never heard my dad ever be that nervous in my life. So hearing that was very painful, very scary, and I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm heartbroken, and I'm sad. We waited, we asked questions, and we weren't getting any answers. I was hurt, and I was just trying to figure out what was going on. And so we waited, and we waited, and we pushed, and we asked for questions, and we were able to get a little closer. And when we got closer, we got pushed back with force. They were shooting rubber bullets at people. Me and my sister were able to move away and get out safely, and we still waited, and we still waited. And finally, we were told that they were processing and releasing people. And so we went to go find my dad. We got there, I screamed, I yelled his name, and he found us, and then we found him. And so we were able to see him waiting, sitting there, getting information, trying to figure out what was going on. And we waited, and we waited, and we continued to wait. And he was telling us he loved us from sitting down on the chairs. And we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and we continued to wait. And so hearing everybody's stories and just kind of seeing and hearing people scream for their families was the hardest thing to do. We tried to be as strong because we know that's what my dad wanted to do. He wanted us to be strong. And so we waited, and we waited, and we continued to wait. We saw piles of zip ties on the floor. We saw people being put into vans. We saw people being put into buses, and we waited, and we continued to wait. And they were processing my dad, and I just screamed if he needs more information to let us know, because we continued to wait. And people were screaming, people were yelling, and we saw people being chained up and put into vans, into buses, and we waited, and we waited, and they finally released my dad. Luckily, he has documentation, so he was able to get out, but this is not about me, this is not about my dad. He was able to come home with us, but there's people who still haven't gone back with their families, and that's why we're here. Because we all waited, and we're still waiting, and people need to hear what's going on. People need to see what's going on. There was kids there. I didn't see any, but there was kids. There's families being ripped apart, and we shouldn't have to be here. We shouldn't have to do this, but we're here because we care, and we're continuing to fight. So please hold each other tight and continue to do the good cause. This is for everybody. I love everybody here. I'm so thankful that you all are here, and I'm very, very glad that everyone's here in community.
All right, so that is the final speaker that we have. Do we have any reporter questions that we can answer before we disperse? Peacefully, hopefully. Just be aware that we don't have a ton of information that we can prove at this time, but we would like to answer any questions you have that we can answer at this time. Yes.
Becky Boone with the Associated Press. A question for Nikki. You said that there was military there. Do you have any information? Can you give us any details about what branch or what, how you can tell that they were military as opposed to other federal law enforcement?
They were in military uniforms. It looked like the National Guard. So that would be my guess. I can't say absolutely. I do have videos of them, so I have quite a bit of evidence of when they were shooting. They formed in line formation, but they were all in military uniforms.
And sorry, I don't want to jump ahead of others, but do you have any information about whether DHS and ICE and these other groups were there with the FBI on the FBI's warrant, or was there a separate warranted operation going on?
I do not have absolute information if they were there on the FBI's warrant. We did see them there, so we know that they were there on site. Now, whether they were on site during the original entry, I did not see anyone specifically that I could call ICE on original entry. People did inform us that they were asked if they were born here or if they were not, and they were divided according to that. There were a number of people scrambling to try to get us their families' documents, green cards, birth certificates, people wanting to prove their children were born here. But as far as at what point ICE arrived, I would say it was probably not long after. But I don't know if they were there in the beginning or not, because the military held us back as soon as we got there.
Do you guys have an idea of how many people are still in ICE custody?
Right now, there are lineups outside of our doors and our phones are ringing off the hook. So I would say I don't have an exact number, but there's a lot.
With Idaho Press, do you know how many people have been released?
I can't say how many people exactly have been released. I know that the children were released. I know that the U.S. citizens were released. We have had some people who did have some type of status that were released, just one person particularly today. There were some others that were released later in the night. I was there until very late at night, and there were still people who were being held there who were getting out who we knew had green cards or were citizens. So there were a number of people released because a lot of people were citizens, they were residents. There were random people who were undocumented who were released, I think because of small children.
You mentioned that you had credible information about children. Can you give us any more details about their ages or the scenarios in which they were zip tied? And also, do you know if anybody was hit or injured by the rubber bullets?
There were people hit by the rubber bullets. As far as the extent of the injuries, I don't know, but they were hit, and there is videos of that. As far as the number of children, there were very young children in there. My understanding, and I do not have solid evidence of this, but I have seen children who have marks on their wrist, was that all the children were zip tied or tied. Some said tied with a string. So I'm not sure if the string to a young child is a zip tie, but they did all say that they were tied up. At some point they started getting untied and they were cut off of them. I don't know at what point or how long they were zip tied before that occurred.
Hi, I'm Carol with Divisive. I don't know who this would be for, but I was wondering if anyone has a comment on the FBI canceling their press conference today. No. Sorry. What was the question? The question. Where detainees are. I know you mentioned Boise Mountain Home. Do we have an exact location?
So right now, my understanding is that they're being processed through Boise and being detained in Mountain Home, although how long that will happen or what the bed space is, we don't know. Idaho does not have a detention facility. And so most of these people that are detained right now are going to be shipped out of state. When that is going to happen, we're not sure, but we as attorneys are trying to follow where they're going and figure out where they're going to send them so we can try to locate clients or people who we are going to be assisting with. But all of them's hearings will be out of state. None of them will be locally here unless they were released.
We're in Mountain Home?
The Mountain Home Jail. I think there's only Elmore County Jail, yeah.
And maybe what specific rights are being violated by the federal government right now to these people?
That's a very complex question. We are still evaluating all of the rights violations. It does appear there were, the children being tied up, detained. There were a number of U.S. citizens who were tied up, detained. People were separated. There were a lot of individuals in there who had nothing to do with this. There were families. There were a lot of families who had nothing to do with the reason that they said they went in. From what I can see, there were only 4 people arrested for criminal offenses. And what we're seeing is there were a number of people detained for immigration violations. We are still in the process of assessing, what types of rights violations went on in there. We are getting information that people were very aggressively dealt with, and they were refused an attorney because I was not let in to talk to my clients. So other rights violations, I'm not sure, but I do know that I requested to speak with my clients that were being detained in there, and I was refused entry.
How are the children who can't locate their parents, how are they being cared for right now?
My understanding is at this point, most of the children have. There's very few. We have located the parents of the children, so I don't think there's any more children out there who don't know where their parents are. The children who are out there that we know of right now are being cared for by relatives.
Unfortunately, we are going to have to end the Q&A portion of this at this time. Things are starting to escalate once again, and we do want people to get home and back to their cars safely. So we are going to end at this time. If there is anybody who is feeling threatened and would like a companion to walk with them to their car, please meet up here. We will have several people to walk with you to your car. If any of the reporters have any further questions, please do respond to the email that you got for the invitation to this press conference, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.
That news conference put on by the ACLU of Idaho, as well as several other organizations, just now wrapping up outside the Canyon County Courthouse. We know there are protesters there and counter-protesters as well. This is all related to a massive law enforcement response at La Catedral Arena yesterday, where about 200 federal, local, and state agencies, including the FBI, ICE, Canyon County Sheriff's Office, Idaho State Police, DEA, and more, all responded to carry out a federal search warrant. 4 people were arrested in connection with an alleged illegal gambling operation at La Catedral Horse Arena. However, this coincided with a public event in which many families, including children, were there to watch horse racing. Our crews on the ground yesterday say ICE detained dozens of other people as well, including children. They put them in zip ties. We just heard speakers talk about that as well. We also heard speakers, including an attorney who had been out there all afternoon, say many people were let go. She believes all of the children were let go. However, others, she didn't have an exact number, are still in custody. Family members don't know where their loved ones are right now. They're not able to get in touch with them. They're not able to get answers. We are also not able to get more answers from the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security about where exactly these people are expected to be taken and why specific people are still detained while others are not. But a lot of families went to this news conference to learn more from the ACLU, from Poder of Idaho, from attorneys, from families who were there. U.S. citizens, we know, were released along with others with some type of documentation. They were released yesterday, as well as into the night and early this morning, according to attorneys who were there. However, we do know that force was used from witnesses on the ground, from videos that were recorded and shared with us, videos that are circulating on social media showing force was used, and people who were on the ground say they saw law enforcement using rubber bullets, and people were hit by those rubber bullets. Attorneys say individuals who were detained were processed in Boise and are being detained at the Elmore County Jail in Mountain Home. It's important to note Idaho does not have an ICE detention facility, so this attorney, who you just heard from, expects that most of these people will be sent out of state, and they are closely monitoring that situation right now. We are going to go back out to Gabriella and Abby, who are live outside the Canyon County Courthouse, who sat in, as we heard from 5 speakers who walked us through what went on yesterday, what they're hearing from families. Gabriella, they said that families were separated. Some have been reunified, but others still know nothing. What can you tell us?
Yeah, exactly, Morgan. So during the press release that ACLU held, they said that they actually, at the Wilder, when the whole situation was happening, they did 2 lines. One where people who were documented and the other ones were undocumented, and also people who had been born in the U.S. and people who were not born in the U.S. Right now, as you can see behind me, the protest is already wrapping up because there's people, escalating. The climate is a little bit not the best for everybody, and ACLU did say they want everyone to get home safe. As of now, we have confirmed with immigration attorney Nikki Ramirez the kids were being zip-tied. Rubber bullets were shot at people at the racetrack. The FBI, DEA, CBP, and other organizations were involved. There were people who are detained now. There are people that are now detained with no criminal history that have not been released. We also know that they now know that they are in Elmore County Jail and also in Ada County Jail. But the ACLU did confirm that if they are transferred to an ICE facility, it would have to be out-of-state facility.
Okay, we know yesterday
this is all the information that was talked throughout the press release.
Okay.
Back to you, Morgan.
Gabriella, thank you so much. We know yesterday that, as I mentioned, individuals that could show documentation were released, but several others are detained. And what we're hearing from officials with ACLU, Poder, as well as another attorney, that those who couldn't show documentation are still detained. But that attorney did say a lot of those individuals do not have criminal records. They didn't have anything to do with what was going on and why that federal search warrant was served yesterday at La Catedral Arena. This is still a very developing story, and we will continue to bring you all the latest as we learn more, whatever we hear from law enforcement in the days to come. We also know those individuals who were arrested and charged with these in relation to the alleged illegal gambling will be in court, in federal court. So we will continue to follow this story for you, bring you all the details both on air and online. You can always stream us, KTVB Plus, download on your smart TV and watch for free. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.